there's a couple things going on with Sculpt. What Christina created is more advanced than anything that's ever been done before in this realm. It is not a weight loss product. That's why it has its name. It's called Sculpt for a reason. Because when you understand proper insulin management, right? When your body is metabolizing and synthesizing insulin effectively, like IGF-1, which are insulin growth factors, right? Which are big, not in weight loss, but in bodybuilding. Why is that? Because proper insulin metabolism not only allows your body to lean out, it allows it and assists it in the growth of muscle. So when you're using Sculpt, what does that mean? It means that your body has the ability to start eliminating the fat, but simultaneously adding muscle if you're active. So the things you should be doing, one, you should be eating. You should be eating right, which there's some mechanisms that are coming here quickly that Dr. Rahm has created to give you the explanations. Plus, if we can get DRCGX lit up for everybody, you'll have an entire genetic panel that is more advanced than anything that's ever been put on the market, that someone can do a swab one time and it's going to tell you how you should work out, how you should eat, what you are, and it's your personal playbook to go along with the playbook that we now have. You'll be the greatest health and performance consultant on the freaking planet. You can use Now's site to start advertising that you're a health and longevity consultant that has the genetic panel and the protocols to reverse epigenetics. Oh, well, then you can be TikTok and Instagram famous, because you'll be able to do what no one else in the world can do. You'll actually be able to reverse aging and be able to tell people to do it, how to do it, and have a genetic panel that does it. So if you ever wanted to be famous and be a consultant that way, you've got all the tools now. But Sculpt is designed to resculpt it. Then there's Crush, which are aminos and peptides. Why is that important? Because we can't eat enough to get us the full profile of amino acids, usually from meat sources, that give your body what it needs to build a healthy physique. So now I bring you our model for the young Tom Selleck, Craven D. So if you don't know Dylan's a bit of a physical anomaly. He and Duquesne played rugby together in college, well, all through high school and everything, and football. But Dylan's a bit of a mesomorph. His workout regimens would blow you away, and what he continues to do. And his educational history allows him to speak very clearly about sports performance and supplementation, because not only did he study a lot of it, but like most of us, it's the amount of education that he's had outside of the classroom that's really the important part. But he ended up with a bottle of Crush that he got from Kreider, and he's been able to play with this. So yeah, Duquesne and I are quite upset that we didn't get our hands on it. But Dylan, talk about this a little bit, because you've had some experience. You've used branch chain amino acids, pre-workout stuff, all this stuff before. Talk about this a little bit and what you've seen so far.
Well, so I was talking to Patrick and Duquesne yesterday, and a lot of the other supplements for BCAAs are filler, fluff, and a lot of times it's a scoop that's the size of your palm to put into an intra-workout type supplement. What Crush is a third of a teaspoon. So it's everything that's in the label on the product is perfectly for your body. It has 6 out of 9 essential amino acids, which, if that doesn't strike a line, is pretty crazy. It also has HMB, which helps with protein synthesis in the body and repurposing your muscles to actually use the essential amino acids that are in there. I've been using it for about 2.5 weeks now, just now going on my 3rd week. And I told Clayton, I work out quite often. I play and coach rugby with Duquesne still. And I didn't notice too much at first, but after this past week, I've been doing triple sets in my workout. Meaning I'm not just doing a single set of something, I'm doing lunges with overhead press and then supersetting that with bent over rows. That being said, the reason I can do that is because I've noticed the difference in my body and my muscular endurance. Sorry for the translators. The muscular endurance I'm seeing is increasing a lot. That being said, the reason that is because the essential amino acids in there are targeting your muscles. It's not just proteins, it's broken down versions of that are simplified for the body. So when you're working out within 30 minutes of taking the supplement, you can actually feel an increase of muscular endurance. I've been noticing this for a while, but it's actually a pretty amazing thing to notice with such a small amount of a product needed. It's only a third of a teaspoon, and I'm actually noticing crazy benefits in the gym. Even Patrick mentioned how much I'm looking different just in the past 2.5 weeks.
Which, just for those that can't see him fully, for Dylan to look different because he's been working out so much is a big testament because, I mean, he already takes care of himself very well. So
He's a specimen.
Yeah. So for a change to be made, something clearly had to happen. I don't think you've ever been so excited for a product.
No,
You like freaked out over this one when we were making it, or when Dr. Rahm was making it.
Yeah, so I've known about this product for a while. I've kept my mouth shut, but I was a personal trainer for 3 years. I was a nutritionist, and I was the head trainer for UT's rec sport team for the majorettes. And I've delved into nutrition, supplements, and everything like that all the time. I've tried. If you name a product, I've probably tried it or I've done research on it. And I was so excited to try his Crush because I've tried everything out there that I could possibly want. This one has no fillers, has no additives. It's just straight essential amino acids, phytoplankton, HMB, the things that you need for your body. It's what it has. And I've been so excited to try this. And I know I'm the lucky one who got to try it first, but I'm glad I did because I can actually attest to it. It's an amazing product.
Well, I got to try it for a little bit too, but I will tell you, I'll give you guys all a secret. I went through my bottle quicker than, because I'm not one who reads labels a lot of time. I take Relive Greens and I just take the bottle and dump it in my beverage. I take Give Me Back My Youth and I just dump it in my beverage and mix it up. I was doing the same thing with Crush, and my wife got a little upset with me because this is something that is so powerful that you actually want to make sure you dose it correctly, because I was probably taking 4 times what's recommended from a dosage standpoint. And when we were in London and I was running to the plane because I was at the wrong gate and I was going to be late, I popped my hamstring. And that's due to having way too much capability and not being in shape. So following what Dylan was talking about with correct dosage, and you don't need a lot of this stuff because as he was mentioning, and as you know with every product, Christina won't use fillers. She doesn't, like with Relive Greens. Why is it that you need a teaspoon of Relive Greens, yet every other greens product on the market, you need a scoop or multiple scoops? Or with Zero N, why can you take 1 Zero N, and with every other nootropic on the market, they say you need to take 4 to 6 a day? These are the parts that are hard to explain to people because quality is different here, right? There's a level of science that she functions at that has not been brought into human existence before. Let me make sure I rephrase that so it's translated correctly. What Christina's doing has not been made available to humans before now. Yes, she is a literal pegacorn. So when someone asks you, what does this compare to? How do I compare this to other stuff? The answer is it doesn't. Because there is nothing that compares to this. There is nothing that compares to anything that she's done. Let's just look at Rahm roast, right? One of Duquesne's life goals is to own a coffee shop and a bookstore, right? That's one of the things on his bucket list. So in order to do that well, we knew we had to go create coffee. So what did we do? Because of what Christine is capable of doing, it ends up being one of the best in the world. Not top 50, top 50%, top 1%. One of the best. There's probably maybe 5 that can compete with this, and I will bet you there aren't any. So it's quite likely that when we get this out, what we've created is the best coffee in the world. It's the only one of its kind. There's nothing like it, right? So when you understand that, people go, well, what makes this coffee? Well, it's one of one. A nanobiotechnologist actually created a mechanism to detoxify and protect the beans. So much so that these beans last so long in a bag that what we produce
bag, as long as it's sealed and closed.
In a sealed bag. But in a sealed bag is unlike any other coffee that's ever been put on the market before. Now apply that to everything else that we've done. Yes, she holds a patent on the reversal of aging. And if you guys pull up the patent, like I've had people call me and say, what's the patent number? Because we use that for marketing because it's patented. Great. Do you know what the patent for the reversal of aging is based upon? It's the Trinity. It's clean slate, zero in, and restore. Okay. What are you going to do with that? Oh, these 3 products are patented to reverse aging. Has there ever been another product line done that? Nope. Oh, there's another patent that this Clean Spirits line is actually patented to improve alcohol metabolism in your liver and get rid of a fatty liver. Oh, wait, what? That's kind of cool. Verena's asking why histidine and tryptophan are not included in Crush, because they're not needed. Here's the point for you guys. I will guarantee you this, because we've been around a little bit, and I've been fortunate to been able to work with a lot of people over the last 45 years. Each formula that we have is designed by someone smarter than anyone else you're going to reference. And you could go travel the world and put together your top 20 people. You can go to the MLM industry. You can go get Mark Hyman and Peter McCullough and all of these other doctors that don't know dick. Oh, and I'll put my word on that, because I'll go toe to toe with all of them personally. Mark's cool. We're going to be with him in a couple weeks. But you take all these other doctors. Do you know there's a billboard here in Franklin, where we live, that Vanderbilt did, that said our PhDs teach your MDs, which is true, because MDs learn from PhDs. MDs are taught to follow a process. Very few of them have actually done education outside of their education to become really good at what they do. They're formulaic, right? You see this, you diagnose this, you prescribe this. This is what they do. Now, doctors that begin to understand functional medicine and understand pharmacology end up learning from people like Dr. Fadwa, who's here. Now, she could raise her hand and tell you that I'm not lying, because she's a PharmD. So when it comes to prescriptions and understanding pharmacology and pharmacogenetics, which are how different medications affect you genetically, and if you should be using one or another, and what the combinations of different drugs will do to you, she's one of the few people that actually understands that. Actually, Fadwa, are you on here? Can you raise your hand? Because I know you're commenting to people, but I can't see you. Let me get through here. Where are you at?
I don't look that great. How's it going?
I don't care. You look outstanding. What are you talking about? You look so great. I'm gonna pen you for everybody. I'm gonna spotlight you. How about that? So I can see you. There, you're spotlighted. So let's talk about this real quick. You're a PharmD. So you have a PhD in pharmacology. And
I have a PharmD, so it's a little bit different. It's like an MD, but I have a PharmD. But I'm learning a lot about biochemistry on my own.
So you actually have to teach doctors about what happens with the drugs that they're prescribing to their patients.
Absolutely.
So what you're saying is a lot of times people that are giving instructions actually don't know the effects of what they're giving the instructions to do.
Right. They would give me, yeah, sorry.
No, keep going.
No, I was just affirming what you were saying. My doctors would give me all of their high risk patients or like 15, 20 meds because they kept adding on one drug after another, one drug after another. And now they're like, my patient's like
Dying.
a hot mess. What do I do? I'm like, stop prescribing all these drugs and let's get to the root cause. And so I usually was able to cut it by 80% easily once I found out their story.
Yeah, so you hear people like people talk about, oh my God, I got healthier, because someone told me to quit my medications.
Yes.
Just doing that little thing, right? How about that? But you've had an opportunity to talk to Christina quite a bit now because of learning and how you're collaborating with us. And you worked at one of the largest hospitals and research hospitals in the entire country.
Yes.
And you were one of the key people in doing what you're doing as a PharmD. So you're not like your average person in podunk America talking about stuff. You're actually one of the elite in your field. You won't say this, so I'm saying it, right? Because women are really good at not bragging. I'm really good at bragging about amazing women, which is why it's such an honor to have you working with us. But your pedigree and what you've done coincides with what Christina's created and what she's created. So if you can talk a little bit about your perspective in what you've seen thus far, what you've learned, and how this coincides with outcomes in people in taking an alternative to the mess. And is she different? And have you seen, are these products different from anything you've seen?
Like, where do I begin? So in medical school, as well as in PharmD school, they teach you only 3 areas of a xenobiotic, of a prescription drug: absorption, metabolism, and elimination. And it's all filling a void in a receptor. That's all it does. And I have learned now through Root that it is cellular signaling and getting to the deep levels of the cell, the food that it needs, because we're malnourished and dehydrated. But these systems know how to act. They know what to do. So the minute you give it the food that it needs, now they start communicating like they're supposed to. And I tell my patients all the time, I want your body to sing like a symphony. It should be like an orchestra happening inside your body. And that's what Root Brands does. When I looked at Sculpt, I couldn't believe like the 6 different mechanisms that she's put in there that Big Pharma has been trying, like Ozempic, for example. Everyone talks about Ozempic, the GLP1 agonists and so forth, and the SGLT and all those things, SGLT2s. She did 6 systems in one product, but they're singing together, right? It's not like just a GLT1 working by itself and SGLT2 is like, well, what are you doing? You're like putting the heavy to the metal, and I can't even like deal with the glucose in the kidney. But she formulated them all to work together so they could actually communicate like they're supposed to. This is the first time in 4 years I was able to do something about my insulin resistance with Sculpt.
Hold on. So you said
and now I'm like licking my Sculpt because I'm rationing it. I'm like every day just taking like a lick until my next bottle comes through.
It's coming soon. So talk about that a little bit. So you're a practitioner, but not only have you seen, and you and I, we need to do a podcast and talk about this more in depth of what you just hit on with 6, because she does have the ability to see things that other people can't see and do things that others can't do, that she did put, the mobile all together, that there's, all 6 components that it's addressing that no one else has ever been able to do. But you've seen this yourself.
Yes.
So what have you seen yourself? Because the best example is ourselves, and you look outstanding, by the way. Your skin is glowing, and you talk about this a little bit for what you've seen personally, because you are sculpting yourself.
Well, yeah, like I said, I don't even have time to work out. I sit a lot. doing a lot of reading, studying, and trying to learn network marketing and now site, playing around with that. And so I took a before and after picture. I've only been on it January 23rd is when I started. And I took a before and after picture and I showed it to my husband. And I'm like, I haven't lost much weight. I think I lost like 5 pounds, but you can see that my waist has gone in and the cellulite of my legs are starting to come out, diminish, excuse me. But they're coming back because I have to keep rationing my Sculpt. But anywho, that honestly, in 4 years, I have not been able to deal with my insulin resistance. I'm a keto girl. I've been eating keto for like over 10 years. After I went into menopause, keto wasn't working for me. I was a boot and hit exercise person. If I do that now, my cortisol levels go crazy and I swell up. I can't handle it. So I have to do a bunch of walking and just like really low impact weight loss. If I just look at food, I gain weight. I mean, I'm your typical classic, 50-year-old female that is, having to work through the food that we eat. Thank the Lord I have clean slates. Every time I eat, I'm like, well, that's why we have clean slate. So that's been helpful. But Sculpt has been a game changer. And I remember I was texting Tiger. I said, I want to write a paper on this. I want to write a paper on this product so badly because I know exactly. She took like 6 different big pharma drugs and put it all into one capsule. And on a nutraceutical level, right? They're not synthetic. This is food, plant-based. And it's what our body wants. Our body doesn't want synthetic. It wants the food. It wants to assimilate that. And so it's blown me away. It's an amazing product.
Can you touch on that? Because there's a couple of people that had questions. Can you hit on the 6 areas, just basics, so as not to get too complex?
Okay, so she hit the GLP1 pathway, that's the Ozempic pathway, and that works in the brain. She hit on the SGLT2 pathway. There's 2 of them. There's SGLT1 and 2. She hit on the 2, which is in the kidneys, and that helps with reabsorption of glucose. She hit on detoxification of the liver, which we know the liver is one area that stores sugar. So a drug that's comparable to that is like metformin, maybe even berberine, if you want to look at it like at a supplement. What is the other one that she did? Breaking down fat, so lipolysis. I have a feeling, I didn't get a chance to look into this, but I think with the ginger component in there, we have the thermogenics, we have some browning effects that are happening with the fat. So why is browning important is because many of us, as we age, our fat has white, it's white fat, which means it has very little mitochondria in it. But what helps to burn that fat is to put energy, mitochondria, back into the fat. We call that browning. So we want the fat to go browning. I think the ginger helps. That's the one ingredient that seems to have the most thermogenic components to it. So I think that's 5 systems right there.
Let me pause on that because I want to ask you a question on this, and this is going to be my point in the ascension aspect of where we're going. So and there's a lot of conversation. I know Gary Brecka and other people are talking about, converting white fat into brown fat and the metabolism of brown fat because of the increase in mitochondria. So in fat, from what you understand, fat is fat, right? So fat has mitochondria in it, but if you don't increase NAD in the mitochondria, so would you expect that from a pharmacological perspective that the increase in systemic NAD would lead to the conversion of white fat into brown fat? So in what we're looking at, if you're taking clean slate, which we know assists in liver detoxification, systemic detoxification, all of that support. And I will argue, and this is one thing that I was talking about at South by Southwest, of the importance of bioavailable silica as the triggering mechanism, the orthosilicic acid or the silicon dioxide, for everybody that wants to say, why is silicon dioxide on the label of clean slate? Because that's how we have to explain it on a label. But you have the orthosilicic acid found in clean slate. Then you have the mechanisms of action that you find in Sculpt. And then we'll get into Crush at a later date. But then if you're taking immune defense shield, for what it does, for then allowing the greater production of nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, which is so great. Are you using immune defense shield too?
I do. I use immune defense shield. And
so do you see that shift? Do you see that shift of being able to boost endogenous NAD at the same time, hitting on all these 5 or 6 points and supporting the detoxification pathways, that you're seeing everything go starburst?
100%. And I would even challenge by even adding clean spirits to that, because we even got a question on somebody has LAP band therapy for their weight loss, and they were asking, could you use Sculpt? And I was talking about this with Tiger, and I said, well, yeah, they can use Sculpt, but what I really think they probably need with their Sculpt is clean spirits, because they have an addiction problem that goes with it. So even just increasing that glutathione, which helps give even more support to the mitochondria. And NAD is really, every single person needs to go on NAD. It's the CEO of the cell. It helps tremendously with mental health. We know that it helps decrease neuro swelling as well. So not only is that mitochondrial support, help with the weight loss, but it also helps emotionally for people. And it helps as you're aging to help increase more mitochondria. So NAD is so important. It's not even just for the energy aspect of it. It's just for the whole cellular signaling aspect of it and the energy that the cells need.
So you could say that maybe there's a little bit of intelligent design behind everything that she's done. But here's another point to this is, because Dylan was talking about Crush, you haven't been able to play with it yet. So if we look at people at this population that has done lap band surgery, or that's done things for weight loss, or maybe they have colitis, or they've had other, GI issues, colon cancer and such, the ability to provide the body with the specific ideal amino and peptide profile that allows for proper protein synthesis when you can't eat as much, or if we're looking at the benefits of reduced caloric intake, the value in being able to provide all of the key mechanisms to give the body what it needs by reducing calories, right? And there's my talking point, but let me give you this point, because I just like to throw everything out there. Is there a difference between nutrient and caloric intake? Do you need calories? Do you need calories to get everything that you need if it was strategically formulated?
Oh, no, I don't think so. And as a matter of fact, NAD is so good for autophagy when you're fasting. And help increase the sirtuin levels, and then your body has all the caloric needs that it has for you to utilize. Is that what you're asking me? I think that's yeah. So
keep going in that. What is autophagy?
So autophagy is the process where when you're fasting, it's a system that kicks in place, and it helps increase another protein called sirtuins. We have 7 of them. And there's certain people that have autophagy deficiency. One type of patient population has autophagy deficiency are autistic patients. They have the inability to utilize their NAD effectively and to be able to help give that energy that they need and the detoxing that they need from the mitochondria. So that's what autophagy is. It helps to help increase sirtuins. We make 7 of them. It's a select type of proteins, and they're used for DNA repair. They're used to help make more mitochondria. So they help in the Krebs cycle. They're huge in the Krebs cycle, which is why NAD is so important. So as you're making sirtuins, you're making more NAD. As you're making NAD, you're making more sirtuins. And autophagy is the process of doing that.
So you hit on one of my favorite subjects with the spectrum, and that autistic kids or people in the spectrum have, you said, an autophagy deficiency. Now, other people will say that they have an MTHFR issue.
Who doesn't?
Both of those issues are actually correlated to mercury toxicity, because it's mercury that shuts off methylation, right? So it basically turns off the gene, or as Christina will say, it causes an epigenetic response to where that gene is not active, right? So you don't have an inability to methylate, because if you were born or if you were conceived with an inability to methylate, you wouldn't be born, right? You would have miscarried.
Right.
So when we look at, proper NAD metabolism and we look at MTHFR as they are, if you're toxic, which we know autistic kids are and the rest of us are, in order to address proper autophagy, proper methylation metabolism, you have to address the toxicity. Then you have to take care of the rest of the body and feed it what it needs to allow all these things to work properly. And going back to what I said before, no one's ever done this like we're doing it. Correct?
Exactly. Yeah, everything is usually siloed, right? Everyone's like, oh, this, ashwagandha is good for you, or this particular plant is good for you. But when our bodies doesn't work in silos, we're going back now to that void, that receptor mechanism again. So really, supplements are no different than big pharma in terms of their mechanism. But to get to the cellular signaling level, that's what your body wants to do. It wants to speak. It wants to communicate in mathematics. It wants to have a symphony, this orchestra playing inside. And it knows exactly where to go to make the repairs once you give it the nutrients that it needs, which is what, the foundation of clean slate and restore. As you start to clean out, and I learned this through the detox girls, actually. So this is kudos to Jill and Shayna. As we remove the metals and the pesticides and the glyphosates, or excuse me, the parasites and the fungus, now your cells are dislodged. They got their trace minerals in there and got that beautiful vitamin C, that catalyst. And now they can regain their charge and start having epigenetic changes to what is supposed to be happening originally in their body in terms of their function.
So you just provided me an insight that we're going to dance with for a second. So you said understanding mathematics, and then which gets into understanding quantum physics, because that's what we are, right? And we're not binary, right? We're quantum. So, and you hit on the aspect of the body, functioning like a beautiful orchestra. And as Dr. Stefan Rao talked about 4 years ago when we were doing the first HRV, but everyone's learning a lot from you. So you talk about the orchestra, and what Dr. Rao talked about 4 years ago and some of the data, and I think you can still find this on YouTube, of what we've seen with heart rate variability, that the body, your aura, your doshas, your chakras, your meridians, your mental capacity, your stress levels, your autonomic nervous system, of using clean slate, zero in and restore, the first dose all shifts within about 20 to 45 minutes. But what you talk about is the one thing I've mentioned, that most people think of the body as a teeter-totter, or the people in the health experts are doing what you're talking about, is they look at this orchestra and they think that if you remove a tuba, or if you take a violinist out, or if you talk about, oh my God, we have the greatest violin and we're going to give you a new violinist, that it's going to change the entire orchestra. And that's not it, right? It doesn't work that way. Right. That you have to understand from a macro level that you need a maestro that understands how to conduct the entire orchestra.
Exactly.
That when you give those tools and you understand, and then if you can identify within that orchestra if there are specific areas that need a little extra love, or that if you tweak a little bit in one area, how if you add too much bass, right? And me, if you've ever been in a vehicle with me, I love bass, right? But I also love treble because I'm an audiophile, right? It's part of my disorder, right? But it's not a disorder, it's a way of finding order. But if you adjust one area, that change is going to cause everything else to adapt and adjust. And, the important part of, the mathematics of pharmacology, that it's not all physical, right? It's frequency, right? It's intention. There's love. There's these other components that pharmacologically have been used. So can you talk about this a little bit? Because when people look at pharmaceuticals, they think that they're just taking a substance and the substance is actually having the impact. There's a lot more to pharmaceuticals than just the physical component, because when they're designed, they're actually using frequencies, they're using quantum physics in the creation of some pharmacological products, which is why if you're getting, say, Viagra, right, from Pfizer, or you're getting a sildenafil, that's a synthetic sildenafil, they might both have sildenafil, but they're different in their mechanisms of action because of how they're designed. Am I correct in that?
That's a really good point, because I would have patients complain over the last 20 years that they indeed felt a difference between the brand and the generic. And we would say, oh no, it's just the fillers. There's a difference in the fillers, but the same active ingredient is in there. So I agree with you on that. I think there is definitely a difference. I think there is I'm learning, I'm very green when it comes to learning about frequencies and quantum. I'm just starting to get into that. And I'll never forget, I watched you in a video when you talked about silica, and you said there's the hardware computer and there's us, and both need silica. And now I'm starting to realize, more clearly the matrix, and more clearly that, yeah, there probably are intentions that they've been doing in the lab of the big pharma. And now I'm learning about the intentions and frequencies that Dr. Rahm puts together. So yeah, I agree with you. Patients have felt it. And it was hard for us as clinicians to really understand that. Like, we didn't get it. We're like, no, the therapeutic concentration, the therapeutic wedge between the two, the brand and the generic, are the same. I mean, you could not possibly feel a difference. Like, I'm telling you right now, I feel a difference. I have these side effects. I'm having these dreams. I don't feel well. But they were never able to get their brand because your sicko card insurance won't cover it unless you're willing to pay like $1,000 or whatever. So yeah.
And it's interesting, right, that we're starting to understand aspects of science that haven't been talked about, because one that came from that industry that knows this in depth. It was interesting being at South by Southwest that Christina dropped so many things. She's like, cloning's real, bioprinting is real, black holes, string theory, all of these things are real. This is how and she just came out and just started hitting on it. She's like, all of these things, this is how they function. This is what we know. This is what we've done. I was at Harvard going over the Mars project, and I'm like, oh shit, she just did it. I mean, she dropped it all at once, and the poor audience went, what just happened here? But you've had a chance to work with her, so you in understanding that even in your expertise, because you've done such an amazing job of outlining and expressing this, we truly are playing with tools that we've not had access to before, with a level of understanding that we've not seen before, and we're just getting started.
Yes, it is quite phenomenal. It's very surreal. Sometimes when I pray, I'm like, Lord, I don't even know how you brought me over to here. I mean, my journey with holistic medicine started 20 years ago when I was 5 years into my career. And my specialty is chronic disease, adult internal medicine. And heart disease was the big deal 25 years ago, right? Oh, we got to, it's the 5th leading cause of death. We got to do something about heart disease. And I was really big into it. And I kept saying, well, the relative risk reduction hasn't changed in over 5 years. It's still only 32%. And I'm adding a beta blocker, I'm adding an ACE inhibitor, and now I'm adding an aspirin, and now I'm adding metformin. And all these are supposed to help you with your heart. And yet nothing's helping you with your heart. And then that's when I started going to functional medicine, learning about diet, reversing the pyramid. And then I started learning about supplements, because that, for me as a pharmacist, resonated with me. It was easy for me. If you tell me 500 milligrams of berberine or whatever, or 25 milligrams of zinc, I can understand what that means and work with it. But even if you look at the studies with phytonutrients and flavonoids and omega-3s and so forth, all of them are still hypothesis generating studies. They know there's a correlation of health, but they can't tell you how much or the quality, right? Like, even for like omega-3s is huge. Like the prescription omega-3 probably has more alcohol in it than actually fish oil. And you can still argue which omega-3 you want to buy over the market. But then Dr. Christina Rahm took it to another level. She's like, I've got that in my Restore. Like, and I've got that in my Reel of Greens. Like, I don't need to give you cod liver oil, per se. And because that's still debatable. I mean, in terms of the quality and how much you take and how to get it to work and blah, blah, blah. So then, I got led to NRF2 activation, which is a totally different company. And then I finally got led to Root Brands that seemed to just finally be, wrapped everything up for me in a bow and said, this is what you've been searching for the past 20 years. This is what you've been trying to, make sense of when it comes to the body.
So let's hit on pharmacokinetics real quick. Right. So you hit on the conversation of, there's research and researchers
trying to, make sense of when it comes to the body.
So let's hit on pharmacokinetics real quick. Right. So you hit on the conversation of, there's research and researchers that are saying, if you take berberine or, ashwagandha or vitamin C and all these zinc and vitamin D and all these things, and they talk about take this amount of this thing because research shows that you need 5,000 milligrams of vitamin D or 250 milligrams of berberine is going to do this because in a test tube it did this. But understanding pharmacokinetics and stacking and and as you touched on, that nature provides all of these things, but the amplification of ingredients, that if you stack ingredients properly, 10 milligrams of something combined with another actually can equate to the body being able to metabolize something into 100 milligrams. And it's not just addition. When we talk about the mathematics of how the body works, it literally, because we are quantum, because we are this amazing system that is even still beyond comprehension of what we truly understand, because we are working on an energetic, a frequency, and a metabolic basis, that it's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's not take this vitamin D and then take this vitamin C and take this fish oil, because there's another component to this of, if you take one brand of one thing and you take another brand of another thing because you read online or you heard marketing from a company that says, buy this, it's great, buy this, it's great, and you think that if you take both of them that they're going to be outstanding, one, you don't know what's in them. Two, you don't know how they're going to interact. So the pharmacokinetics, and just as we talk about with pharmacogenetics, that different prescription medications are going to react differently. Different supplements, especially if they come from different places, could cause different interactions, could even negate one another.
Right.
Or if you take it to the other side and you have a literal bioscience engineering savant that says, I'm going to do all of these things so they're linear, and all of these products are all synergistically combined to amplify one another, not just on their own, but when you start stacking products, like we've gone over with Clean Slate, with Restore, with Zero In, with Sculpt, with Crush, with Immune Defense Shield, right? Then you've got something that literally will restructure your entire existence. That it's that difference.
Exactly. And I'm still learning myself so I can help explain it to other people, because if I talk to other practitioners, like you always, you tease about the silicon dioxide behind zeolite and vitamin C and silicon dioxide. And they're like, that's all it's back there. That's all it says in the ingredients. I'm like, no, but you don't understand how it was made. And that's it. What Root Brands has done, it has totally changed. You have to unlearn and relearn. Everything has to be unlearned and relearned. It's not what you see in the back of the bottle, but how it was made, the intentions of it being made. And then you have to understand, you have to match that. And this is me learning. You have to match that with how the body wants to communicate. You cannot put the heavy metal to the pedal on any receptor and expect the back end to respond, to assimilate to that. Right? So even like glutathione, everyone's been talking about glutathione since post-COVID. And they want to find the most bioavailable glutathione, lipophilic glutathione, what have you. I knew even back then, if I were to put a patient, this is way before I knew about Root Brands, On lipophilic glutathione, the longest you can take it is maybe 3 months. Because if I went beyond 3 months, I'm going to shoot out your methylated system. Your methylated system is be like, I have enough glutathione and I don't need to do any more DNA repair and I don't need to do anything else. And I'm just going to sit back and relax and I'm going to turf it to another system. And you don't want that. So I would have had to rotate my patient through glutathiones, NAC, NAD, whatever. And what a mess.
Let's hit on this a little bit because there's so many people that are pitching glutathione, right? In so many different aspects. Glutathione is, they say, the master antioxidant, but it's basically a hormone, right? Very, very much to the tune of something like testosterone or estrogen, to where they are naturally endogenously produced. So is it not true that if you're giving the body estrogen, or you're giving the body testosterone, or you're giving the body glutathione, that you're going to override your endocrine system eventually if you continue to do it, to where it's going to think it doesn't need to produce it on its own anymore. And you're going to throw off the orchestra because you're throwing in too many freaking tubas. So let's take that back to the bioscience engineering aspect. When you take Relive Greens, and if you do the breakdown, and Christina's done this in conversations on Root U, that when you break down the ingredients in Relive Greens and you break down their amino acid profiles and what's in them, right? All of those components, the essential fatty acids, the mineral content, the amino acid content, you have all of the tools in their natural sources that allow the endogenous production of glutathione.
Well, that's exactly what I tell everyone, 100%. Especially when, again, going back to glutathione, if we continue to take this beautiful, whatever, formulated glutathione, lipophilic, bioavailable, whatever, and you douse the body with it, the next shift that it does this other sulfur pathway and actually will mess around with your glutamine process. And you'll end up starting having dry eyes, dry mouth, you end up starting having migraine headaches. And then you mess up your gut. And so people think, oh, I need more glutamine because my gut's messed up. I'm like, no, you're like on overdose of glutathione. So yeah, absolutely. It totally, you get a backlog of you atrophy basically the systems on the back end, and then it has to shunt and go somewhere else. And those shunted systems are made in place to be used as a last resort. They're not made in place to be used as the primary mechanism, right? They're used for extra waste to kind of like, what I want to say, balance, homeostasis, have some homeostasis of the systems if you're a little bit too much one place or another. But if you keep dousing the body over and over and over again, you're going to atrophy those systems and they're going to give up. And then that's when people like Jill and Sheena talk about their drawer full of supplements, because after a while you're like, these things aren't working and I feel worse and sick and I don't know what's going on. And then you go and try to find the next best thing that might be your problem. But really our problem is full of toxins. We're malnourished, we're dehydrated, and our body is just begging for some quenching of its thirst and to be fed properly. So because it knows exactly what to do. Right. Yes.
So you're actually feeding the body the fuel, the nutrients it needs to then metabolize ideal glutathione function if you've done your work to start removing the mercury, the lead, the aluminum, the other, toxic heavy metals that disrupt methylation and detoxification. And then at the same time, if you're taking care of your gut, right, restoring your gut, simultaneously allowing the proper production of dopamine and serotonin, right? Because this is the part I don't think, and this is so difficult because we're playing at a PhD level of bioscience engineering and we're trying to teach kindergartners in many aspects, right? She's done things, and this is not to say that everyone's a kindergartner, so I don't want to come across that way, but she's functioning at a level of which scientifically no one's ever done before. And so she's literally playing a PhD level, and the rest of us are still in grade school going, I don't believe we understand the concepts of what we're talking about. She's literally conducting the Austrian Philharmonic and we're still playing a recorder,
Right.
right?
Right.
And how we hit on that. But so trying to explain to people is like, no, you've got a bioscience engineer that knows all these things, that Relive Greens is designed to do that. And with the combination of clean slate or clean spirits, because of its detoxification properties, but the key component to, proper metabolism of glutathione comes down to the one key piece that you hit on already. It's the orthosilicic acid. That's the triggering mechanism. That's the accelerant that allows the ignition of all of that creation. Without that microchip, without that upgraded microchip, that silica, none of that can take place properly. But here's one other thing. You talked about being keto. Is it possible, like there's companies that are selling all of these salts to help people to get into keto?
Right.
And you have colon cancer. Is there the possibility that if you do these things consistently and to excess, that you create dysbiosis in your gut, that you can actually cause cancer by doing these things because you throw everything off so significantly that your body is so disrupted it doesn't know what to do?
Right. Well, that's what cancer is, right? It's a mutated DNA replication that can't seem to replicate perfectly each and every time. And because the epigenetic, the top layer of our DNA is modifiable, it is trying to modify based on what you eat, based on your environment, based on the way you think, based on your activity level. And it will, what's the word I'm looking for? Try to mathematically make the cell adjust to whatever it is that you're doing, right? So whether you're smoking, whether you're taking those salts, whether the way you're eating, and yeah, you can cause cancer that way. Absolutely.
I'm just going to let that pause there for a second so people can take that into account because of all the companies that try to pitch this stuff and sell it. You just brought the truth to a mechanism that's actually caused the death of some people over the last year that many people respected because they don't understand what they're pitching, what they're selling. And you have different messages that are being pitched by people trying to sell something and make money versus actually correct our existence.
I mean, this is the area that I'm trying to learn myself in social media and how to convey that. It has been like, I don't have many followers. I have about 2,000.
That's more than me. I have 6.
I always say you have 6, but I have and they'll always, I'll get these DMs like, show me again, send me the link again. Let me see that YouTube again. And I was even just texting Jill and Shayna last night. I'm like, I really want, because that was one of, not that I'm touting myself, but that was one of the things my provider, Henry Ford, liked about me and why I stayed as long as I did, was when I did drug write-ups for disease. So a new drug would come in the market and they're like, Fadwa, we want you to do a complete write-up. Should we add this drug on formulary? Why or why not? And they would take my recommendation. And I love to start at the basics because even physicians need to start at the basics because they're just abstract readers of studies. They never fully read the study. They always read the abstract and then they make a decision. And that's like such, what do you call that?
It's like reading the back of the book and going, okay,
yeah,
I got it. I understand the whole story. I'm good.
Like, dude, you didn't even see like, the confounding factors and the right demographics and the whole thing. So I'm trying to use those tools back in place to help people to understand what does bioscience engineer means, what does nanotechnology means, and not to be afraid of it, to understand that has actually been, even though people have used it for evil, we have someone that's using it for good. And how do we embrace that for good? And did you know that we've actually been living that way for decades? Like this has been for me even. And now that I know a little bit about like deficiencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about like autophagy deficiencies or dysfunctions or inefficiencies. We talked about browning and so forth. So now that I see it used in a much better nano microdosed way, we have all that truth, but now we know how to utilize that truth. Like we know that we're deficient in these areas, but we didn't know how to correct these deficiencies. But now we know how to correct these deficiencies. based on the toxin removals and the cellular nutrition and stacking that biohacking components, and to be able to bring back the body to the symphony that it's supposed to be. So there's these partial lights that each of us have known in the medical field, but now we're getting the full light, the health light of truth. That's what I call it when it comes to Dr. Christina Rahm. But you just got to wrap your mind around it. So I'm trying to find a way to articulate that to people so they can see it and be able to embrace it and trust it.
And it's the one term that you used early that is the most important. And it's actually in going back to the book or the movie and thinking that you watch the preview and you get the whole gist by just watching the preview. One of my favorite movies of all time, of higher learning, right? Because the message from if you guys want homework, you can go watch Higher Learning. It was done, oh boy, 30 years ago. Yeah, I am that old. And it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And it talks about, the racial discord and, the chaos that we have in society. But the final scene, the final shot in the entire movie is one word. And it is the most powerful resonance you can get. And I think it applies. I'm going to have to watch it tonight with the Coco D because she's not seen it. And since Christina's not here, I get my time to watch my own films. It is one word: unlearn. And you hit on it. And it is the most important part that we have to do from a societal standpoint, because so many people want to understand that we live in, I'm going to take you off removing spotlight so we can go back and forth. It is the most important component of understanding that if you believe we live in the Matrix, and we live in a matrix, that means that everything that you know before this point, you have to unlearn and let go of because it's been a lie. Everything. Do you know how hard that is? Do you remember the message in the documentary that they put Neo in? And do we remember what Neo needed to find in order to start to become enlightened? That it happened to be Trinity? Oh, but he had to let go of everything and trust the one. Do you get it yet? Do you see it? Because I'll tell you, those that many people think are in the darkness that are considered the elite know what she is. Do you know how many people we run across now at different events? They go, "You're not from here. We know who you are." And I'm not talking about lay people, and they're not connected. All over the world, celebrities, elites, people like us, they're like, "You're not from here." And if you start to look up and understand, like Joe Rogan did an amazing interview with Cat Williams on his podcast. I didn't know Cat Williams was as well read as he is. He was talking about the Emerald Tablets and the research he's done. This dude read 3,000 books by the time he was 12. He was reading 20 books every 3 days when he was 8. You imagine between the ages of 8 and 12 that you read 20 books every 3 days, and you read only 20 books at a time because that's what the library allowed you to check out? If you guys go on Spotify or wherever and pull up the interview with Cat Williams and Joe Rogan, go on Joe Rogan's podcast. It's the first time I'm ever going to promote somebody else's pod this way. But if you pull up the interview that he did with Cat Williams, I'll put it on my socials for the 6 people that follow me, and you listen to what he talks about and the level of insight that he has, you'll go, "Oh shit." Because, and you got to remember, he's considered elite because he's made millions and millions and millions, and he's been invited into clubs that most people don't get invited to. And yes, I've been invited to a lot of those too. And one of us is oppositionally defiant, so you know where we're going to stand. I'm not part of the club. Do you know what kind of havoc I would wreak if they let me in that? But you know why they want her and me in those clubs? Because regardless of money, power, influence, and control, you know the one thing that they want, that everybody wants, that you can't get without doing it right? Longevity.
Health.
No, it's longevity. It's the only thing they want. And you know what they don't have? I want you all to shoot a message to Steve Jobs on social media and ask Steve how he's doing. I don't think he's going to respond. Oh, he's not here right now. Sorry. Leave a message for me. You'll get me in the afterlife. Money, power, influence, control don't mean shit if you don't have longevity. They know, because of their ability to do research, they know what she's done. They know what she's capable of doing because they know she's not from here. That's not me saying it. They know, they understand because they can see it. Most of you can see it. You know she glows, right? She's not of our kind. She doesn't do the things that we've done. She's done things that have never been done before. She holds patents on things that have not been even created yet, to the extent that they're able to manage. Have you guys looked at her first patent? Yeah, she's Palladian. You're correct, Kathy Jo. Have you guys looked at her first patent? There was 186 claims in there. You know she holds a patent on the stabilization of hydrogen fuel? Did you guys know that the mechanism that's used to use clean slate actually has the ability to hold on to hydrogen and distribute hydrogen evenly across the network? And did you know that if you take Relive Greens, the magnesium and the benefits of Restore and clean slate allow your body to produce molecular hydrogen the way it's supposed to based on the amino acid profile and magnesium that you get in those, which means that if you're taking clean slate and taking the greens, the magnesium in the greens is allowing your stomach to produce molecular hydrogen properly, but the fragments in clean slate will actually hold on and better distribute the molecular hydrogen across the network and across the bloodstream of your body. Oh, did I just explain that better than anybody ever has explained before? Yes, I did, because that's what we do. Mic drop. Fadwa, I can't hear you. We have to unmute you again.
I just said, wow, I didn't even know that about the hydrogen.
What?
See, that's amazing.
Even Coco's excited over that. Coco's like, say what? Dad, that was truth. This is what we do, guys. And the molecular hydrogen water bottles that everybody likes because they're popular right now, because Gary Brecka talked about it on Joe Rogan. Trust me, I'm getting them here shortly. So all the MLM shit in Germany that people are talking about a crappy one, don't worry about it. I got you covered. They're coming. So you'll be able to use the Joe Rogan and Gary Brecka interview. Hold on. You want to know how crazy NowSide's going to get when you guys understand how to do this? You're going to be able to use all of the interviews that Gary Brecka is doing, talking about all the hydrogen water, the interviews he did on Rogan, and be able to take that, cut it, put it in NowSite, promote it on social media, and drive all the organic traffic that's going on for the search of those specific water bottles to your website and get customers. Because that's what we do. Because if you guys find something you like, ask. I'm telling you. If you find something else that you're like, oh my God, this is a great opportunity, bring it to me. Send it to me. You guys know how to get me. You can email me, Clayton@therootbrands.com. You know how to get us on WhatsApp. We're freaking everywhere. We can talk about it on here. You can send stuff to me. If you guys find stuff that you think is of benefit to the community, bring it to me. Because here's our goal. I was asked this the last question when we were on our panel in Austin. Somebody asked me what my philosophy was for this year. I said, it's TGD. Like, what does that mean? I'm like, total global domination. We do things better than anyone else has ever done before. So we're going to do one of two things. If we find something else that can be a benefit, we'll either find out how to do it better than anybody else has done. i.e. coffee. But if we can't do it, say that there's a company that's actually able to create or has created something that would be of great benefit to our community, like these hydrogen water bottles. There's only one that's actually proven to be effective and beneficial. So I got a hold of the owner, the guy that created all the science on molecular hydrogen over the last 20 years. I called Paul. I'm like, Paul, tell me about this. I'm like, why is molecular hydrogen beneficial? Because all of these companies selling supplements for molecular hydrogen are trash. They're selling shitty magnesium. Just so you know, if you look at the freaking label, they're selling shitty magnesium because magnesium in your stomach actually binds the oxygen off of a water molecule, takes the oxygen off, and leaves H2. There's your molecular pathways for creating molecular hydrogen. You can talk to Fadwa about this. She'll tell you that's correct. So I asked him a simple question. Why do people need molecular hydrogen? His answer, because he's a doctor and a naturopath. He's like, well, people have gut problems. They have dysbiosis in their gut. I'm like, great, that's caused by glyphosate and other things. So I asked him a second question. And he's like, well, molecular hydrogen, drinking the water actually helps your gut heal over time. I'm like, okay. So let me ask you another question. I said, what if you were able to take care of that? What if you were able to remove the heavy metals, the glyphosate, and give the body the nutrients it needs to heal the leaky gut and provide proper biosis in a healthy gut environment? And then you added molecular hydrogen water. He's like, people will go nuclear. I'm like, okay, then we can be friends because we already solved the first part. We got the Trinity and Relive greens. That's done. So then we'll add something else as a tool and as a fun point because it makes pretty bubbles. Okay. That's done. This is what we do, guys. This is what you have access to. As one of my, favorite media sources has said, thanks to Dave Chappelle, our lives are dope and we do dope shit. That's what we do. That's what you guys have at your hands. This is what's at your fingertips. These are the tools that you're responsible for sharing. And I'll tell you, if you share it, hopefully you listen to Dr. Fadwa, and yes, we'll have this cut up. Drew and Nicole will do their dope shit here in a minute and cut that up so we have it, because Fadwa, you're outstanding. I adore you. You're amazing. We have to do a podcast.
Get phone code.
Oh, here.
My aunt.
So 266070. 266070.
Thank you.
So we'll take what Fadwa did. You and I are going to do a podcast though, because you're amazing. And I just love talking with you because we can go down so many different paths of, okay, your understanding of pharmacology and my understanding of nothing. Always, it's like oil and vinegar. People think they don't mix. I'm like, no, that's how you make amazing salad dressing. If you add, the rest of clean spirits into it, if you take all three of them and you put it in, wait a minute, did we just give you the key to the amazing aspect of how to take clean spirits, the whole line? Make salad dressing with it. The garlic and everything that everybody thinks is too strong, if you mix it with a little oil and a little vinegar, booyah, Stuart. It's amazing. And then you get to have Rahm roast with your favorite vodka or your favorite tequila. So you get to have an amazing espresso martini after you have an amazing salad. You get your crush, you get your Sculpt, so you don't need to eat a lot. So you get all your amino acid profiles, so you need less meat because they're poisoning all the meat, but you're going to get your beef or whatever you want, and you get extras on that, but you got all the amino acid profiles, so you don't need to eat a lot. So your caloric content drops precipitously anyway. Your metabolic function goes through the roof, and you can still have an espresso martini at the end of the day and feel outstanding because you can put a little clean spirits in that and your liver thanks you. Thank you and good night. I don't know what else we need to do. We just made life fun again. Is that why we say MAGA? Trump's doing the whole MAGA thing. And we say MAGA. Make yourself great again. Let's go. I got nothing more. That was 2 hours. It was more than we expected. But we all got Fadwa time. And you look outstanding, by the way. So don't ever tell me that you don't look great because you look freaking amazing, and so does Claire.
Thank you. Yeah, Claire does.
And Cora talk, this is great. I don't know, they unmuted for amazing commentary. We're live. Why is it that some people jump on and they're like, oh, I'm here. There we go. Then they want to leave again. I don't understand. This is why I can't do comedy, because if someone heckled me, I'd go sit next to them and talk shit. Maybe that's why I should. I will do this at some point. They have an open mic night at the Comedy Mothership in Austin for, Joe Rogan's club. I will get in there and I'm going to get on stage and bomb intentionally, because I want people to heckle me and be like, look, I'm here just for fun, because here's the greatest flex for me to get on stage for comedy. Here's my wife. I won. Be mad all you want. I win. That's my life. It's great. But hope you guys got some insight into this. We'll cut this up because Fadwa was outstanding. And Fadwa, you don't understand what you just did, but the level of insight that you provided, many people, is going to create a cascade greater than you can ever imagine. So thank you. We will do more, because you and I have such different perspectives that it is a conversation I think is great for everyone to have. So get ready to be on Controlled Chaos here shortly. We'll do this.
It's my honor. Thank you so much.
But it is, as everyone is saying, it is a privilege, an honor, and a blessing to have professionals at your level that collaborate with us, and don't think that we think lightly of the investment that you're making in us and what we do, as well as the investment that every one of you here is doing. I mean, the passion that you get from me, the passion that you get from Duquesne, and he's not being unclear in what he's saying as far as how his mom responds, because he's absolutely correct. I'm not allowed to respond in the way that he just responded, because my wife will get upset with me. Because if I get mad at people, she gets mad at me for getting mad at people. Do you know how much that sucks? That if I want to destroy evil people, she wants to help evil people, because that's how she's made. That's why it's hard to have her out in public at times, because she will walk into gunfire just to make sure that everyone's okay. That's a dangerous proposition when you have someone that God put here to heal everyone else. So there we go. So don't think that each of you isn't of tremendous value to everything that we're doing, and how much we love and respect the sacrifices, the choices, the decisions that all of you are making to be here. Because as my wife wrote, my greatest philosopher, my favorite philosopher and author of all time, wrote that we are each an imperfect piece to a perfect puzzle. Right? You hear me repeat it constantly. And when you begin to understand the depth of what that actually means, you'll understand why we adore and respect and understand the importance of every single person here. Don't think we don't know that, because it's how we built this whole thing. But know that with that, we all have to work to be the best versions of ourselves, and we've all got work to do. But we get to do it together. We get to laugh at each other for being fucked up. We get to, cry every once in a while. We get to love who we are and what's around us, and know that we have the responsibility to bring that to other people. Not a bad deal, right? And holy shit, you get paid for it. Even if we had to tweak it a little bit. So no complaining. We'll get this done. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out on a Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? What day is it? Is it Thursday? Shit, I don't even know what day it is. Roland, I'm sorry. It's Thursday. Shit, you know what? In Australia, it's Friday right now. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this. Away we go.